Good day everyone, I am Keisha Marie Pabalan. I will be reporting my assigned topic, which is the early American literature, history, and biography. The literature in English of the British colonies and after 1776 of the United States. The earliest colonial literature was consisted mainly of religious and political tracts. And the first notable poets were Anne Bradstreet and Edward Taylor. Anne Bradstreet, she was the first woman to be recognized as an accomplished New World poet. Her volume of poetry, The Tenth Muse, and lately sprung, lately sprung up in America, has received a favorable attention in its first published in London. And then Edward Taylor, he is an American Puritan poet and a minister of Congregational Church in Westerfield, Massachusetts for over 50 years. He is also considered as one of the most significant poet who appear in America. His fame is the result of his work, which is the preparatory meditations, lyric exploration of Puritan soul, and relation to the sacrament. The period of American Revolution was dominated by political writers such as Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Paine, including the influential writers in the early 19th century, Washington Irving, James Fenimore Cooper, and Edgar Allan Poe. And American literature came to its full maturity in the works of the New England writers Nathaniel Hawthorne, Ralph Waldo Emerson, and Herman Melville. The influence of English literature on the early American development was now reciprocated, notably in the works of the novelist Henry James and the poets T.S. Eliot and Ezra Pound. So let's move on to the colonial period. This period encompasses the founding of Jamestown up to a decade before the Revolutionary War. Jamestown is the English settlement in North America. The majority of writings were historical, practical, and religious in nature. Works that published during this period are the first slave narrative, a narrative of the uncommon suffering, surprising deliverance of Briton Newman and a Negro man. Next is the Revolutionary Age. Beginning a decade before the Revolutionary War and ending about 25 years later, this period includes the writing of Thomas Jefferson, Thomas Paine, James Madison, and Alexander Hamilton. So, this is arguably the richest period of political writing since classical antiquity. Classical antiquity describes the civilization of ancient Greece and ancient Rome. The important works the important works during this period are the Declaration of Independence and the Federalist Paper. Next is the early national period. This era in American literature is responsible for the first notable works, which is The Contrast by Royal Taylor. The Contrast, the plot is comedic, focuses on marriage, and is set in New York City. At the center is Maria Van Roth, who is settled to marry Billy Dimple by an agreement between the two fathers who were business partners prior to Dimple's father's death. Writers who are credited with creating American literature are Washington Irving, James Fenimore Cooper. Next is the American Renaissance, also known as Romantic period in American literature, or and the age of Transcendentalism. Transcendentalism, which lasted from about 1830 to 1860, was a vital part of the Romantic movement. Ralph Waldo Emerson was its putative leader. Henry David Thoreau and Margaret Fuller were among the principals of the movement. And also, this period is commonly accepted to be the greatest of American literature. Major writers include Walt Whitman, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Henry David Thoreau, Nathaniel Hawthorne, Edgar Allan Poe, and Herman Melville. Let's move on to theological writings. Theological writings refers to text, essays, or works that explores and discuss religious beliefs, doctrines, and principles. These writings often developed into topics such as the nature of God, morality, spirituality, and interpretation of sacred scriptures. The purpose of the theological writing is to provide insights, guidance, and a deeper understanding of a religious faith and practice. So, theology is the systematic study of nature of the divine, or more broadly of religious belief. There are some helpful tips when writing for theology. So first is know what kind of paper you are writing. If it is spirituality or reflection paper, you can use first person. But if it is a biblical studies or analysis paper, you use third person only. The next is be extremely clear. Theological writing is very academic. If it helps state what you will be doing, the purpose of your paper directly in the thesis introduction. For example, in this paper, I will state your purpose. The next is the read sources carefully. Be able to understand what the author is saying and summarize it in your own words. Read footnote. The information given in footnote includes the author, the title, the place of publication, the publisher, the date of publication, and the page or pages on which the quotation or information is found. Next tip is the useful sources. So commentaries, analysis on scripture, good for exegesis, passage analysis, biblical studies. Example is the Anchor Bible commentary. The last tip is the how to cite. The standard citation for theology is the Chicago style with notes and bibliography. That would be all. Thank you.